Okay, I'm back again, my faithful ballers, and this time we're gonna be going. This time we are looking at a new Dragon Ball Z video. This one is going to be a bit like This one is actually going to be quite like my Saiyans and Space playlist that I made a few months ago. So go check that out after this. But you don't need to check that out after this, because now we're going to be going over the titular ability of the Saiyan race and the mainstay of the Dragon Ball Z mythos, the Saiyan Zenkai abilities. And this time we're going to be going over and tackling just how strong the Saiyan Zenkai abilities make Saiyans and why it makes them that strong at that particular time. It may seem random, but on some level, there's actually a science that goes into this, and maybe a fair bit of plot. But we're gonna get to that as we go along. First, we're going to go over three mainstays as to why Saiyans get the abilities that they get. We're gonna focus on how strong they get when they heal naturally over time. 2, we're going to go over how strong they get when they eat a Senzu bean. And 3, finally, we're going to go over how strong they get once they get, into one of those freezer healing chambers. And we're going to go, and then once we go over all of them within those parts, we're also going to go over why they got as strong as they did using those certain methods of healing. It's all going to start to add up by the end of the video. I'm making this for 2 reasons. 1, I want people to further understand how the Saiyan Zenkai abilities work. 2, I'm going to be continuing my Lost Saiyan Saga playlist. And if any of you have any Lost Saiyans you want to add to the saga, please let me know in the comments below. And I want people to refer to this video when they think about the Zenkais I'm giving them in there and why they're getting those particular Zenkais. I want people to just think about that and then refer to this video. And 3, mostly because I just want to have reference for myself in the future, so I don't have to keep going back and forth with stuff. And without further ado, we're gonna start off with one of the best natural healing feats in Dragon Ball, when Goku drank the Ultra Divine water. So we're gonna start that analysis right now. Okay, so as agreed before, we're going to be starting with Kid Goku after he drank the Ultra Divine water. Now I'm having some issues finding some other images, but if I can find them, I'll put them in the description to add context what I'm saying. So after he gets beaten by King Piccolo, Goku goes up. The Yajirobe takes Goku up to the tower, and Gohan tells him about the Ultra Divine water. He also says that it's a water imbued with the power of the gods, but also that 12 or 13 people have drank it, and all of them died. But he says that if you do manage to survive, it'll unlock your latent potential, and all of your potential at the moment will be released. But if you've already reached that potential, it won't really do much for you. So Goku and Yajirobe both go to find it. Yajirobe takes his finger in it and licks it, and he almost passes out. Goku takes the whole cup and downs the whole thing in one gulp, and he goes into a 3-day coma. During this 3-day coma, Goku's he's healing naturally because they didn't give him a Senzu bean. He's healing naturally over the 3 days from being poisoned. So while he's healing like that, his power level goes from his power level is at 180, I believe. He goes from a power level of 180 to a power level of 260 after just 3 days. It's such a big jump that Koen himself even looks at it, and he's like, wait, I sense Goku waking up. All of this happened at once when Goku just awakened from this power, with this mighty power he was just born with. All his latent potential coming to the surface. It's to the point where even Goku's shocked by what's happening to him. He's like, is this me? I feel amazing. So from what's happened here, we can see that Goku. We can see that from the power he's gotten from 260. So he went from a power level up to 260 from 180, which is about a 1.4 times increase, which is a 1.4 times increase in power, just from healing naturally from poison. You can also argue this was maybe just more so some of his latent abilities as well. Well, like his latent power, so to speak. But he still got a Zen. But considering he's one of the only beings that live drinking the water, and considering that he's a Saiyan, as we later learn in Dragon Ball Z, kind of makes sense that his Saiyan heritage had a distinct impact on him surviving it, and not just surviving it, but also getting an increase in strength from it as well, by about 1.4 times. And then he goes on to decimate King Piccolo, just with that single boost and power. Meaning that healing naturally for Saiyans should offer around an increase of 1.4 times if we're going to take this into consideration for most other Saiyans. You could argue this is only because the water releases your latent potential, but it's clear that if it does that, it doesn't release a whole lot of it. You can also argue this is just the amount of potential Goku would have had anyway, because he was still a child at the time. As we all know, that was nowhere close to Goku's true limit and true potential. So we don't really know how strong, because as we see later, there are people that are able to unlock greater amounts of potential, like Guru and the Supreme Kai, for example, and the old Supreme Kai, for example. So unlocking that much potential, so it might have just unlocked a little bit of potential. But for now, we're just going to say that this is a 1.4 times increase from healing naturally over time. And he healed all at once, it appears. His body was just reconstructing its insides, and then once it was finished, he just woke up immediately. So it's not like, he heals for a bit and then he's fine, and then he just slowly recovers like a human would mostly do. No, he healed his body over the 3-day period, and then all at once his energy just skyrocketed. It also, it's also clear that considering that, and he didn't need any special medicine to heal from the poison either. His body just naturally dissolved it, and then you put it to work, making him stronger. And not only did he get a power increase from this, he also managed to get the ability to sense ki. He managed to, so this didn't just awaken a new power within him. It also awakened a new ability and a skill that he immediately put to use to find where King Piccolo was located. And up to this point, he hasn't really been sensing ki much, but now he can after just this one instance. So it didn't just awaken his new power; it also awakened new abilities within him as well. Well, as an extension of that power, and if that's also, and it's an extension of that power. I also read somewhere that Saiyans should naturally be able to sense ki because of them being a warrior race, and the fact that it wouldn't be very beneficial for them to be able to do that without relying on scouters. But for now, we're just going to say that that healing naturally for Saiyans grants them around a 1.4 times boost in strength, and if possible, also, possibly learning one ki sensing if they already didn't have it beforehand. And considering that's legitimately the only ability he got from that experience. And that's pretty much one of the few examples we can get from Dragon Ball of a Saiyan healing naturally over time without going into examples like GT. But for now, we're gonna move into the next example, and that's of a Saiyan healing to getting a Senzu bean for the first time. Let me repeat that. Healing getting a Senzu bean for the first time, and you'll see why as we go to Vegeta when he first ate his first Senzu bean. Okay, now we move on to the Prince of all Saiyans, Prince Vegeta. And we're gonna go over here First we're gonna go over just how strong he gets when he uses the healing chambers now. Up to the point where he fought Goku, don't think Vegeta really ever faced a challenge like that before. I don't think he's ever been pushed like that before. I don't think he's ever been like anything. Otherwise, because apparently according to Zarbon, him and Qiu were always, and by Qiu himself, they were always on par with one another. Which kind of speaks levels about the Saiyans when a low-ranking Frieza soldier is on par with the prince of your entire species. The Saiyans got done dirty, but we're gonna talk about that in a later video. So anyway, but moving on from that, let's go. Well, moving on from that, let's go on to how strong Vegeta was when he was on Earth. He had a power level of 18,000 max, and then Goku had a power of around 18,000 max, and then when he went to heal in the healing chamber after almost dying on Earth, he got a plus 16 power up to go from 18,000 to 24,000, and this allowed him to completely vaporize Qiu with ease. And then he completely vaporizes the Boya, who was only 2,000 plus stronger than Qiu. Okay, and then after that, he goes on to get his ass kicked by Zarbon in his monster form. He did put up a good fight though, and then he went on to fight Zarbon in his monster form after Zarbon took him to get healed again. Probably not a smart idea, and then he managed to absolutely dominate and kill him this time. So both times he got a plus 6,000 power up, meaning that every time Vegeta is to use like a healing chamber, it's a plus 6,000 increase in strength. This is mostly because his body's used to healing over time within like those medical liquids. So his body's used to all that. The more useful you are to a certain form of healing, the less effective that form of healing is gonna be to you later on, to the point where the increases you will get from it won't be as drastic as they would be as if you had just gotten it new. And I'm gonna prove that right now, because as you can see the image here with Vegeta eating his first Senzu bean, this is actually what happens. Vegeta's body is so used to being healed over time and liquids with just resting, but now his body is actually getting something it's never gotten. A mid-battle healing solution that is recovering every cell in his Saiyan cell in his body all at once. This has never happened to him before. This is the first time his body has been introduced to this type of healing stimuli, which is the Senzu bean. And this is the result of it. Vegeta ends up going from a power level of around 30,000 when he fought Wakum to a power level of around 250,000. And he goes from a power level around. People say that this is one of the biggest Zenkai boosts in the series, and it makes sense. His body's not used to healing like this, as we've already stated, so this is a completely new experience. As we all know, Saiyans are built with the innate ability to fight and adapt to anything. And his body made the only logical evolutionary choice: get stronger. Yeah. So when Saiyans are first exposed to Senzu bean, they ultimately get a they were, or you know, some type of healing ability related to Senzu beans. They would end up getting a boost of about 8.3 times, meaning that Vegeta is now 8.3 times stronger just from taking one Senzu bean. And this is the same power up that allowed him to completely wet Captain Ginyu and beat Goku worse than he did on Earth. Because at this point, he was the second strongest person on the planet. And at the time besides Frieza. So from 30,000 to 250,000 after eating one Senzu bean, 8.3 times increase. But then that's not all, because then Vegeta rests for a bit, and it's kind of skewed where his power level was. This was here. Some people say it was around 500,000. Some people say it was around 490,000. But either way, after just resting for a bit, he managed to get his power to go up more, meaning that the Senzu bean actually healed him more than it should have healed him. And this is the after effects of eating the Senzu beans for Vegeta's body, because he hasn't really rested since he got on Namek. And the Senzu bean does heal you and restore your stamina and heal your injuries, but I think he just needed that little bit of rest so that his power went up a bit more, because his body has never been experienced to this, so it's massively overcompensating for this new method of healing that he's just been exposed to. I'm gonna put the science for it in the description below, but right now I just want to stay on the subject of Vegeta's new increase in power. So his body wasn't through healing, and we're just gonna go with 490,000 for now, because honestly it's just a plus. Actually no, we'll go with 500,000 for now, since that would make a bit more sense, considering he was somewhat confident he could stand up to Frieza, and he even managed to push Frieza back, and Frieza transformed on top of it. He wouldn't have needed to do that if he outmatched Vegeta too much. I do believe he would have needed to be at least well within the 500,000 ranges to even, compete with Frieza, let alone hold him off in his first form, which has a power level of 530,000. So with that being said, that means that his body wasn't completely through, which actually does kind of make sense, because his power level doubled after that one. But actually now think about it, 500,000 does make a bit more sense, considering his power level legitimately doubled after just taking a rest, meaning altogether he got an increase of about 16.6 times. Meaning that altogether he got an 8.6 times increase before, and then meaning altogether he got a 16.6 times increase in his power from eating one Senzu bean. That's how great Saiyan adaptation and recovery is when given something like the Senzu beans. Well, and I see no reason why this couldn't work for really any Saiyan, because remember, his body's been used to dealing with healing for one method for several years. He didn't even know what Senzu beans were. Goku, however, has been eating Senzu beans his whole life until when Koen gave it to him, so his body is way used to healing with this way than any other Saiyan would be. Also, you can attribute it to Vegeta being in the middle of various fights while he was healing with the Senzu bean, so that could attribute it to it as well. But for now, when a Saiyan first takes a Senzu bean for the first time, it's an increase of about 16. It could be anywhere from 8.6 to around a 16.6 times increase in overall strength and power. So, but what about when Goku eats a Senzu bean? Well, what about when Goku eats a Senzu bean, you ask? Well, let's just go on to Kakarot when he ate his Senzu bean after he was in the hospital for a couple months. Okay, now let's go over Goku's Zenkai boost after the Saiyan fight. Now when they were fighting the Saiyans, they went out of Senzu beans, and it took Korin a couple of months to grow more. And considering it took Gohan and Krillin, I think 6 months to get to Namek on Kami's old spaceship. So it took them about 6 months to grow more Senzu beans. And during that time, Goku was healing in a hospital bed. So he was healing naturally vastly more than he was healing from the Senzu bean already. So when he does get the Senzu bean and he eats it, his healing process instantly completes itself. Now I have seen some say that Goku went from doing this scene, Goku went from a power level of about 1.4 to he went from power level of 8,000 to 12,000. Which, in the context here, would make a bit of sense. So basically, I guess this is like a combination of healing, like natural healing, and Senzu bean healing, but more so natural healing. However, I'm going to instead use this more so as a way of saying how strong somebody would get if they had just been eating a Senzu bean for most of their life. And it's not a new experience for them. So, with that being said, how strong? Goku went from power level 8,000 to around 12,000 with this Zenkai boost, meaning that his increase in power would have to have been 1.6 times. I don't know, his increase in power would have had to be 1.5 times. Which is actually a 0.1 increase from when he got that boost from drinking the Ultra Divine water. So that's actually pretty interesting. So regular Senzu bean uses only a 1.5 times increase from just eating a basic Senzu bean. And that's pretty much it for this one. Then he goes on to go into the gravity chamber. So with that covered, and we can just assume it would probably be the same for Vegeta, considering he still got whooped by the androids after taking a couple Senzu beans. Meaning that after this, you don't really get that substantial of a Zenkai boost from just the Senzu beans much anymore. So with that, we're going to now move on to the one we've all of you have probably been waiting for, when Goku went into the healing chamber on the planet Namek and came back with one of the biggest Zenkai boosts in Dragon Ball Z history. And we're going to be covering that right now. Okay, now for the moment we've all been waiting for. One of the biggest Zenkais in Dragon Ball Z history, when Goku came out of the healing isolation chamber in the Frieza saga. Now, there's a lot to unpack here about how he got such a substantial increase in power. So much so that I could honestly probably make a separate video just solely talking about that. But considering that this truly was a once-in-a-lifetime occasion, and that I'm not sure that would be very necessary. I'm just gonna put some links below talking about how synthetic DNA would work, considering Vegeta said that this healing chamber will regenerate every pore in his body. This is made of synthetic Saiyan DNA. That's basically going to heal him on a genetic level. level, because this is essentially a form of DNA cloning, cloning with synthetic DNA that's being used to heal Goku's very essence, used to heal the very core of his Saiyan biology, essentially. This is better than getting healed by the Senzu bean, because the Senzu bean kind of just renews everything about you, but this is actually adding on extra DNA on top of your own to heal you and rebuild you on the genetic level, essentially speaking. And Goku's never used this before, so this is another first-time healing chamber use. And considering, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, like I said, because most Saiyans will rely on these things and die after a very harsh battle like Vegeta did for the first time. We already saw how strong a Saiyan would get just from using these periodically, like Vegeta, but let's see how strong a Goku got just from using this once. But like I said, there are a lot of factors that go into this. He wasn't just healing with new technology that was reigniting every Saiyan fiber of his being by copying new synthetic DNA on top of his. He was also healing for quite a while. I think about a couple of minutes, probably an hour or something. I'm not sure the time, because apparently 5 minutes in Dragon Ball takes about a couple of episodes. So you could say this was like a couple of minutes of healing. So he was healing for a good while longer than a Senzu bean would have taken to heal him. So this still counts as healing over time, albeit a short amount of time. So during this short amount of time that Kakarot was healing in the isolation chamber / healing chamber, but he was also sensing his friends dying. He almost sensed Krillin and Gohan die twice, and he was about to break out of it while still injured just to go save Gohan from death. Further showing that he's a caring parent. So with this being said, there are actually 3 factors that can play into this. One is absolutely the fact that it's his first time in the healing isolation chamber. 2 is the fact that Vegeta specifically stated this is synthetic Saiyan DNA that will essentially copy itself to his DNA and repair him via a form of nanotechnology. And 3, he's sensing the death of his friends and the rising and falling power levels, so he's under a lot of stress. And unlike with a Senzu bean, or unlike with natural healing, and unlike with a Senzu bean, his body has enough time to respond to that stress and rebuild him to be stronger to counter it. On top of that because stress does have a physical effect on the body and the synthetic DNA he's in will automatically rebuild the stuff that's under too much stress and goes to break down. 2, and the second reason is again because unlike natural healing where you just have to rely on your own body, you have the synthetic Saiyan DNA helping you out. So like I said, there's a lot of science behind this, and I honestly just learned about this today. I will finish watching the video and I will put it in the description below for all of you to see it as well, along with an interesting article that I found a while back, like a couple minutes ago as well, about self-healing DNA nanostructures. But for now, we're just going to go into the big thing. Goku went from a power level of 90,000 to a power level of 3 million, which is a 33.3 times increase in power. Because of the reasons that I have previously stated. And this is one of a kind power-up that's not likely to ever be replicated in Dragon Ball Z again. Because there's not really that many Saiyans left to replicate this with, and also on top of the fact that let's just be honest, most Saiyans heal with the healing chambers anyway. So if anything, that Senzu being like thing healing you like that would actually give you a greater boost than this, because most Saiyans have never even heard of Senzu beings before. And the natural healing, of course, because most Saiyans will probably be forced to heal naturally on missions because they won't have ready access to healing chambers unless they bought like those big ships with them that do have the healing chambers. So there's all that. So that's pretty much how Goku got one of the biggest Zenkai boosts in Saiyan history via basically luck, essentially. Via luck, via being in the right place at the right time, and via actually caring about the people in combat. Also via the synthetic. Also, again, Vegeta also said this was a old, outdated model and that he blew the new one up. So Goku actually could have gotten stronger than this if he had been in the new model. Imagine him getting stronger than what he is now currently, just by being in the new advanced model that Vegeta blew up. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the main power increases that Saiyans would naturally get. The main power Zenkai power increases that Saiyans would get from various forms of healing. However, since I am having a bit of fun with this video, we are going to go over one last thing, and that is going to be how strong would Saiyans get from healing powers, like the Namekian healing ability. We're gonna go over that right now. Okay, for the final installment here, we're going to be talking about when Dende healed Vegeta very reluctantly, so that he could help fight Frieza. Now, this is quite interesting, actually. We already saw how strong you get from like a Senzu beam, but let's see how strong you can get from a Saiyan, how much a Saiyan can benefit from the Namekian healing. So Vegeta goes from a power level of 500,000 to a power level of 1.5 million after just getting healed once by Dende. Again, this is his first time getting healed by Namekian. But it's not his first time getting healed. This is his first time, and this is actually where we get into like an overlay. Because the Namekian healing is quite similar to Senzu being healing, because they both kind of heal you somewhat instantly. Albeit the Namekian healing takes like a couple seconds, depending on the severity of the damage. So with that taken into mind, and they still are quite similar, and the fact that they do heal you way quicker than the other healing methods that we've listed here. So with this one, Vegeta goes from a power level of about increases in power by 3 times, of course, because 5,000 times 3. So he gets a 3 times boost from the Namekian healing. And I'm not sure how strong another thing. Now we can use this as a base for this. That the first time a Saiyan gets healed with Namekian healing, it could be 3 times means what it was. I'm not sure how. And since it's quite similar to Senzu being healing, because both of them act in a spiritual manner with Senzu. I'll actually put a link below to explaining how Senzu beings work. It's been a while since I've seen that video, but there's a big mythology around like Senzu beings that's quite interesting. And considering how Senzu beings work and how the Namekian healing is somewhat similar, you could say that if you get an Namekian healing regularly, you could end up getting a boost of about 1.4 times, or if not 3 times. It really does just depend on the Saiyan in question who's getting the boost. Actually, wait, now that I'm thinking about it, Gohan also got healed by Dende. What was his boost when he got healed? Hold on a bit, I need to check this. I checked Vegeta because he was obviously the best. Vegeta's one of the best examples for Zenkai boost. Like, straight up. He's gets them. In fact, I think he's actually gotten way more Zenkai boosts than Goku has throughout the series, I believe. Yeah, he has. Okay, so let's see how strong. Okay, let's see what people would put Gohan after he gets a Zenkai boost. Oh, wait, no, not that one. Okay, whatever, bit, almost there. Oh. Yeah. Apparently Gohan went from a power level of around 80,000 to about 200,000 after he got healed by Dende. By Dende once Piccolo showed up. Yup, and that's about... hold up. I probably should have done this before, but you know, it's already there. So we got a 2.5 times increase. It seems like Namekian healing for the most part kind of goes back and forth a bit. Kind of goes like a bit over the place. It can either be anywhere from a 1.5 times increase to a 2.5 times increase to a 3 times increase. But then again, you can also take into account the fact that Vegeta was vastly more injured, was way more injured than Gohan was throughout this entire fight. So, which actually would make a lot of sense. Gohan wasn't as injured as Vegeta, so it makes sense Vegeta would get that extra 0.5 times increase. So with the Namekian healing, this really does just depend on how injured you are when you do get the healing ability. Like, if you're legitimately about to die, you will get the 3 times boost. And if you're just, you know, seriously injured but not critically injured, you get the 2.5 times boost like Gohan got. And then if we want to say it's like the Senzu beans essentially. So with taking them over time, it could be a 1.5 boost if you continuously rely on that method of healing. So that's pretty much it for like how the Zenkais work in Dragon Ball Z. So I hope all of you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like and a comment. And if you think of any methods of healing that I might have missed, link them, and I'll probably make a supplementary video explaining them. And thanks for watching and sticking through to the end. And remember, stay faithful, my ballers. And bye for now.